At a gathering with friends, someone patted my wife Lara Blanchett on the shoulder and asked, "Lara, a beauty like you must have had a first love back in school, right?" Lara smiled and reached up to adjust my shirt collar. "No, I only love my husband." As soon as the words left her mouth, Parker, her male best friend sitting beside her, suddenly laughed out loud. First love? No. But she did have a fuck buddy. He propped his chin on his hand and looked at me, blinking smugly. "Don't be nervous, Mason. I'm talking about back then." Lara was like a nymphomaniac. She dragged me to all kinds of places for sex. Nearly wore me out. Someone cursed in surprise, and laughter instantly exploded in the private room. Parker wasn't satisfied yet. He slowly twisted the knife deeper. "Sorry about this, but I got to sleep with your wife before you did. 365 times to be exact." He raised his glass and smiled at me with curved lips. "Don't take it personally, Mason. Just joking between guys. It's all in the past. If we still had something going on, we wouldn't pick the day you announce you're having a baby to say it, right?" The air froze for a moment. Finally, someone reacted first, raising their glass to smooth things over. "Well, everyone did foolish things when they were young. It's all in the past. Don't dredge up old accounts. Besides, Lara treats Mason so well now. No matter how busy she is at work, she comes home. He can use the card however he wants. She drives him everywhere. Now that she's pregnant, she's arranged everything at home perfectly." Another person chimed in. "Exactly. A woman like Lara is already rare. Parker has a loose tongue and loves to joke. Don't take it to heart." The private room became lively again, laughter and clinking glasses mixing into a cacophony. As if that previous exchange had really just been a harmless joke. I smiled too, but my fingertips were growing colder bit by bit. They weren't wrong. Lara treated me well, proper, thoughtful, flawless. She gave me a watch for our anniversary, called a doctor when I was sick, never missed giving me gifts or clothes. But when Lara had sex with me, she was always calm, like completing a task. Always the same rhythm, the same positions, the same silence. No kissing, no flirting, no eye contact. From start to finish, she barely made a sound. Even her breathing was as controlled as if she were in a meeting. After it was over, she'd get up to shower immediately, her retreating figure efficient, without even asking how it was. At first, I thought it was because she had a reserved personality. Later, I thought it was because I wasn't good enough. I tried many times. Changed to shirts she might like, learned those clumsy, pleasing moves from videos, and on nights when she came home from working late, I'd hold her with a flushed face. But she'd only frown and remove my hands. "Stop it. I'm tired today. Behave yourself." Once, I worked up the courage, sprayed on new cologne, and changed into the suit she'd once complimented. She didn't even look. She just draped her coat over the sofa, her tone flat. "Don't wear that anymore. It doesn't suit you." Doesn't suit me. That night, I washed the hair gel out bit by bit alone in the bathroom, suddenly feeling like the person in the mirror was a ridiculous clown. And now, Parker leaned next to her, laughing as he talked about their wild times back then. Lara said that's enough. But she didn't deny a single word. I finally understood. She wasn't naturally cold. She just gave her passion to someone else and saved propriety for me. "Honey?" Lara suddenly called me, handing over a glass of warm water. "You don't look well. Don't overthink it. He's had too much to drink and is talking nonsense." I took the glass, my fingertip pressing against the warmth of the cup. Warm. But it couldn't warm my heart at all. I looked up at her and asked softly, "Lara, have you ever truly loved me?" Her expression froze. She was about to speak. But Parker beside her laughed first, slowly swirling his wine glass. "Mason, that question really hurts the mood. For women, isn't it enough that she's willing to give you status and bear your child? After all, Lara slept in my arms for so many years and never gave me status." I looked at him and suddenly laughed too. "You're right. Status really is enough. Except from this moment on. I don't want it anymore." On the drive home, the car was so quiet only the sound of the windshield wipers remained. Lara gripped the steering wheel. After a long time, she finally spoke. "Don't take what Parker said seriously. It was just youthful foolishness. He can't keep his mouth shut." She paused, as if soothing someone being unreasonable. "I married you now. The baby is ours. Isn't that enough?" I looked at the neon lights retreating outside the window, my nails digging into my palm bit by bit. "So you think I should be grateful?" Lara frowned. "Your emotions are running too high tonight. Go home and rest first." When we got home, she took off her coat and, as usual, poured water, washed her hands, checked her phone. Calm, as if the humiliation in that private room had never happened. I stood at the bedroom door, my throat tight. At that moment, I suddenly wanted to know. Did she have no feelings for me, or did she simply not want me? I bit my teeth, unbuttoned my collar, and walked toward her. My fingers trembled, but I still reached out to hold her. "Lara, look at me." Her body stiffened for a moment, then she pulled away. No desire, no attraction, only exhaustion and impatience. She picked up the coat beside her and draped it back over my shoulders, her tone cold. Stop fooling around. My eyes immediately reddened. You've been pregnant for 3 months. The doctor said it's safe during the stable period. I'm not fooling around. I just want to know if you still want me. Lara looked at me, her expression sinking bit by bit. Mason, are you really this desperate? Those words hit like a slap across my face. I froze in place, even my breathing trembling. But she had already turned around, grabbed her car keys, and headed out. The door slammed shut. The entire house was left with only me and my wretchedness. I sat on the edge of the bed, tears falling onto the back of my hand one by one. Half an hour later, my phone lit up with a notification. Parker had posted on Instagram. The photo showed a woman's wrist in the driver's seat, wearing the bracelet I'd given Lara. The caption read just one line. Someone's mad I said too much when I was drunk. But she still came over in the middle of the night. Below that, he added another line. Back when we were poor students, we tried every place except car sex in a luxury vehicle. Looks like we're unlocking a new location tonight. I stared at those 2 lines of text and suddenly laughed. So when she said don't overthink it, she meant for me to stay home with dignity, while she went to his place to let her true feelings run wild. I wiped away my tears, opened the family group chat, and sent a message. Dad, Mom, please arrange a lawyer for me. I don't want the baby anymore. I'm getting divorced too. As soon as I sent the message, my father's call came through. His voice was cold as ice. Finally figured it out? Your mother and I never approved of Lara. The Blanchett family is good, but she's been spoiled since childhood. Plus she keeps that unclear relationship with Parker as her male best friend. A woman like that has too fickle a heart. She can't sustain a stable marriage. We only stepped back because you liked her. Now that you've woken up, it's not too late. My mother took over the phone, her tone both heartbroken and decisive. I'll have someone pick you up first thing tomorrow morning. The divorce lawyer is already on their way. As for the baby in her belly, Mom knows you can't bear to give it up. But once this child is born, you and Lara will be entangled for life. This kind of marriage, cutting it off early is the real blessing. The next morning, I was woken by the sound of the door unlocking. Lara walked in carrying a paper bag, her expression unusually gentle. You're awake? I bought you a small cake. She pushed the box in front of me, her tone coaxing like talking to a child. Isn't this your favorite place? I looked down. Mango mousse. My stomach immediately churned. I'm allergic to mangoes. In severe cases, I have trouble breathing. I stared at that piece of mango mousse, suddenly remembering many small, piercing moments. Parker can't eat onions. She remembered. Every time before ordering, she'd say first, no onions in his portion. Parker gets stomachaches from iced Americanos. She remembered. On rainy days, she'd order him a hot latte in advance, with a note for less sugar. Parker's flight lands at 1 a.m. She remembered that too. I'd seen the reminders on her phone more than once. Parker lands at 1:20, temperature drop, remind him to bring a jacket. These reminders were accurate down to the minute. But the fact that I'm allergic to mangoes, after 3 years, she still forgot. Seeing my terrible expression, Lara's movements paused, and a flash of embarrassment crossed her face. I grabbed the wrong one. She quickly pulled another box from her bag, rushing to make amends. Then look at this. I passed by the boutique today and got this for you. You said you liked this watch before. The box opened to reveal a beautiful timepiece. It really was the one I'd admired for a long time. If it were before, I probably would have forgiven her with tears in my eyes. But now, I only felt exhausted. I pushed the box back flatly. Just leave it there. Lara frowned, still sulking. I didn't respond. I picked up my phone. As soon as the screen lit up, group messages popped up. The group was still that familiar original crew. Parker had posted a 9-grid photo set. Men's shirts, women's short skirts, black lace lingerie scattered all over the floor. The group instantly exploded. Holy shit, who was Parker with last night? That's some intense action. Details. How many rounds did you go? Parker replied leisurely. 7 or 8 at least. Nearly killed me. Some people act all refined normally, but when they get wild, they really know what they're doing. A bunch of smirking emojis followed below. Then he sent another line. At Lara, did you get home? Does Mason like the watch you picked for him? I stared at that line of text, my fingers growing colder bit by bit. So even the apology gift was chosen by Parker. Beside me, Lara's phone vibrated almost simultaneously. She glanced down, her face changing instantly, and reached out to grab my phone. I pressed the screen dark first and looked up at her. I haven't even asked you yet. No need to rush to explain. Lara's movement froze mid-air, her throat bobbing. Don't jump to conclusions. What happened between Parker and me is long in the past. After the baby's born, I'll take you on a trip. You've always wanted to see the northern lights in Iceland, right? Besides, if I still had something with him, the baby would be gone by now. Would we have made it to today? She reached out to hold my hand, but I gently avoided it. I looked at her and suddenly smiled. Yes, you're right. Lara paused, thinking I'd been pacified, and her tone relaxed. See? That's better. Don't always get stuck in your head. Parker just loves to run his mouth. He posts whatever without thinking. Don't stoop to his level. I nodded, my voice flat and waveless. For me, it doesn't matter anymore. Lara frowned slightly, clearly taking this as me being petulant. She glanced at the time and grabbed her car keys. All right, stop being moody. I have something this afternoon. I'll come back later and have dinner with you. The moment the door closed, the room became quiet again. I looked at the mango mousse on the table, slowly picked up my phone, and sent the lawyer a message. We can proceed with the process now. At 3 p.m., I sat in the hospital consultation room. The sunlight outside the window was blinding. The doctor finished reviewing the materials, looked up at me, and spoke in a calm tone. Mr. Mason, terminating a pregnancy requires confirmation from the pregnant woman herself. As her husband, you can accompany her and sign some of the documents, but you cannot make the decision for her. I nodded. Actually, before I came, I already knew. It was Lara's body. Even if I hated her, even if I no longer wanted this child, I shouldn't be the one to put her on the operating table. But I still came. Because I needed to hear a clear statement with my own ears before I could extinguish the last bit of hope in my heart. The doctor pushed the form back, his voice softening somewhat. If you're just having marital problems, I suggest resolving the relationship first. Children shouldn't be used as bargaining chips. I lowered my eyes, my fingertips gripping tighter bit by bit. I wasn't being petulant. I finally understood that once this child was born, Lara and I could never cut ties cleanly. My phone vibrated once on the table. The screen lit up with a message from Lara. Honey, I just picked out a baby stroller. It's made so beautifully. He'll definitely love it. I stared at those 2 lines of text, my vision blurring. I suddenly remembered the day we found out about the pregnancy. When the test results were handed to me, Lara froze first, then tears filled her eyes the next second. She hugged me, laughing in the living room like a child. I'm going to be a mom? Mason, I'm going to be a mom. That night she leaned on my shoulder and talked about so much. Said the nursery should be painted light blue, or light yellow would be good too. Said I should choose the name. Said no matter how busy she was, she'd come home on time to be with me and the child. Back then, I really believed her. I thought this child would warm up the cold places between us again. But now, the same person was sending me baby stroller photos while leaving ambiguous traces in Parker's social media during the night. Sincerity and betrayal could actually exist on the same face. I pressed the phone screen dark and said quietly to the doctor, "Thank you. I understand." When I came out of the hospital, the lawyer was already waiting for me at the entrance. He handed over the drafted agreement. Mr. Mason, the agreement states that if Ms. Lara insists on having the child, subsequent custody, visitation rights, child support, and property division can all enter separate clauses. However, whether to terminate the pregnancy cannot be unilaterally decided by you under the law. I took the documents. The pages were light, but felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds. Then let's divorce first. The child's matter will follow legal procedures. The lawyer nodded. Understood. When I got home that evening, I just pushed open the door when I heard familiar laughter in the living room. Parker sat on the sofa while Lara poured him hot water. Seeing me, he immediately stood up, his eyes reddening, his tone sickeningly soft. Mason, you're back. I drank too much last night and talked nonsense. Please don't take it to heart. He walked forward 2 steps, as if sincerely apologizing. Lara and I have just been fooling around since we were kids. I can't keep my mouth shut. She's pregnant now, and you're emotionally sensitive. I understand. I'll be more careful about boundaries from now on, and won't let you misunderstand again. The words were apologetic, but the knife was hidden in every syllable. As if all of this was just me, the husband, making a mountain out of a molehill. Lara also spoke up, her tone certain. I already said it was a misunderstanding. From now on, let's live our lives well and raise the child properly. That's more important than anything. You're about to be a father. Stop overthinking and getting jealous all the time. I leaned against the doorway, pale-faced, feeling exhausted even lifting my hand. Parker saw the hospital documents in my hand and exclaimed with fake surprise. Mason, why do you look so terrible? You didn't go to the hospital for random tests and scare yourself, did you? Men shouldn't be so sensitive. Lara still has a baby in her belly. Don't use the child as leverage in a fight. I slowly raised my hand and waved it lightly. Stop acting. The living room fell silent. I looked at Lara and spoke word by word. I don't want this child anymore. Lara's expression instantly froze. What did you say? Before I could answer, the lawyer behind me stepped forward and handed over documents. The pages opened. Black text, clear and piercing. Divorce agreement. The lawyer's tone was steady. Ms. Lara, this is the divorce agreement drafted by Mr. Mason. Please review it. Regarding the child, the agreement clearly states, if you insist on giving birth, Mr. Mason will fulfill his legal obligations. But this marriage, he has decided to terminate it. The paper of the divorce agreement did not rustle when it landed on the glass coffee table. It hit with a heavy flat slide, stopping right beside the mango mousse. For 3 seconds, the only sound in the living room was the hum of the refrigerator. Parker's eyes flicked down to the document. The smirk that had been permanently etched onto his lips since the previous night didn't vanish, but it stiffened. His fingers, which had been loosely wrapped around his water glass, tightened until his knuckles went white. Lara didn't look at the paper. She looked at me, her brow furrowing in a way that was all too familiar. It was the look she gave her subordinates at the office when they presented a flawed quarterly report, a mixture of irritation and cold disbelief. Mason, she said, her voice dropping into its professional low register. We agreed you would stop this childishness. If you're doing this because of what Parker said at the dinner. I am not doing this because of what he said. I interrupted. My voice was quiet, almost a whisper, but it carried a weight that made her stop. I am doing this because of what you did. I told you she came over to my place because she was angry at me. Parker chimed in, his tone rising, trying to regain his footing as the casual, smooth talker. He stood up from the sofa, taking a step toward me, his hand outstretched in a placating gesture. Look, buddy, if this is about the Instagram post, I was just... Mr. Vance, my lawyer, Mr. Cole said, stepping between us. His voice was perfectly level, but his physical presence was formidable. You are not a party to this marriage, nor are you a party to these negotiations. I suggest you remain silent, or I will have the court include your social media statements as exhibits of intentional alienation of affection in our civil filing. Parker's hand froze midair. He looked at Lara, expecting her to defend him, to snap at the lawyer the way she usually snapped at anyone who crossed her best friend. But Lara was staring at the divorce agreement now. Her eyes had caught the bold letters of my father's family trust at the top of the page. Your parents, she murmured, her voice finally losing its calm edge. You went to your father. My father has always kept a legal team on retainer for me, Lara, I said. I just never had a reason to use them until yesterday. Mason, be reasonable, she said, standing up. She didn't look at Parker anymore. Her entire focus was locked on me. You're 3 months away from being a father. You're going to break up our family because of a few drunk jokes? Because of a bracelet? I picked that watch out for you myself. I tried to make things right. You let him choose the watch, Lara, I said. And you bought me mango mousse. She paused, her expression blank. What does the cake have to do with anything? I've been allergic to mangoes since I was a child, I said. We've been married for 3 years. Every time we visit my parents, my mother makes sure there isn't a speck of mango in the house. But you passed the bakery, saw a yellow cake, and thought it was enough to buy my silence. I looked at her, really looked at her. Her hair was slightly damp from her shower that morning, smelling of the expensive sandalwood shampoo she always used. The same shampoo that had been on her collar when she came home at dawn. The cake wasn't for me, I said softly. It was the one Parker likes. He's the one who eats mango mousse. You just grabbed his favorite and brought it to my table, hoping I wouldn't notice. The silence returned, heavier this time. Lara's throat bobbed. For the first time since I had known her, she had nothing to say. The flawless, efficient woman who could handle any corporate crisis was standing in her own living room, exposed by a $5 slice of cake. Mr. Cole, I said, turning toward my lawyer. I'll be waiting in the car. Of course, Mr. Mason, Cole replied, opening his briefcase to retrieve the property division annexes. I will handle the initial service of papers. I didn't look at Lara again. I didn't look at Parker. I walked out of the apartment, the door closing behind me with a soft, final click. My parents' estate in the northern suburbs was a world away from the sterile, minimalist high-rise I had shared with Lara. The house was built of old gray stone, surrounded by towering oaks that had stood for a century. When my car pulled up the gravel driveway, my mother was already standing on the stone terrace, a thick wool shawl wrapped around her shoulders against the autumn chill. She didn't ask questions. She didn't tell me to be strong. She simply opened her arms, and for the first time in 3 years, I let myself lean into her, my shoulders shaking as the tears finally came. You're home, Mason, she whispered, her hand stroking my hair. You're home. Now. My father was waiting in the library. A fire was crackling in the hearth, throwing warm, amber light across the leather-bound books and the heavy mahogany desk. He looked up when I entered, his eyes sharp and clear behind his reading glasses. Sit, son, he said, gesturing to the armchair opposite him. I sat down, the warmth of the fire slowly seeping into my cold hands. Richard Cole called me on the way here, my father said, leaning back in his chair. He served her the papers. She refused to sign them on the spot, which we expected. She thinks this is a temporary tantrum. She thinks you'll come back once the pregnancy progresses. I'm not going back, Dad, I said, my voice steady. Good, my father said. Because we've spent the last 12 hours doing some digging. Your mother and I never liked the Blanchett girl, but we kept our distance because we wanted you to be happy. But once Cole told us about the friend, Parker, we decided to conduct a forensic audit of your joint accounts. He slid a thick, white folder across the desk. Lara is the vice president of her family's firm, and she makes a substantial income, my father explained. But she's also been using your joint household account, the one funded by your trust fund, to pay for things she didn't want, appearing on her personal credit statements. I opened the folder. The first page was a list of bank transfers. October 14th, $12,000 to Vance Creative Studios, Parker's shell company. November 3rd, $8,500 for a luxury resort in Aspen, 2 guests, registered under Lara Blanchett and Parker Vance. December 25th, $4,200 for a custom leather jacket delivered to Parker's address. My stomach twisted into a tight, cold knot. I had been frugal. Every time I wanted to buy something for myself, I had hesitated, thinking of the future, thinking of the family we were building. I had driven an older model SUV because Lara said we should be practical with our finances. Meanwhile, she was using my trust money to fund Parker's lifestyle, to take him on trips, to buy him custom clothes. The Aspen trip, I murmured, my finger resting on the date. She told me she was attending a real estate summit in Denver. She said the altitude would make me sick, so I should stay home. She lied to you, Mason, my mother said, entering the room with a tray of hot tea. She set it down on the table, her face hard with anger. She used your gentleness as a weapon against you. She thought because you loved her, you would never look. She thought because you were quiet, you were stupid. There's more, my father said, his voice dropping. The pregnancy. Richard Cole has already requested a court-ordered prenatal paternity test. I looked up, my breath catching. A paternity test? If the child is yours, we will ensure you have full custody rights, and we will fund the child support without a single complaint, my father said, his eyes locking onto mine with absolute authority. But if that child belongs to Parker Vance, we will strip Lara Blanchett of every penny she has ever taken from this family, and we will ensure her name is ruined in every financial circle in this city. I looked down at the tea steaming in my cup. The child. The little heartbeat I had seen on the ultrasound monitor just a week ago. I had been so happy. I had held the thermal paper in my hands like it was the most precious thing in the world. Now looking at the audit logs, I felt nothing but a cold, empty void. When will we get the results? I asked. The court will hear our motion for the test next Tuesday, my father said. Until then, you stay here. No calls to Lara. No messages to Parker. If either of them attempts to contact you, they will have to go through Richard Cole. The courtroom on Tuesday morning was small, quiet, and smelling of old paper and wood polish. I sat beside Richard Cole, my hands folded in my lap. I wore a charcoal suit my mother had selected for me, simple, elegant, and entirely different from the casual, pleasing clothes I used to wear to match Lara's tastes. Lara arrived 10 minutes late. She wasn't alone. Her family's lead corporate attorney, a sharp-faced man named Harrison, walked beside her. But Parker wasn't there. For once, she was forced to stand on her own. She looked different. The perfect, polished exterior was slightly cracked. Her hair was pulled back into a tight bun, but there were faint, dark circles under her eyes that even her heavy makeup couldn't fully conceal. When she saw me sitting at the plaintiff's table, she stopped. Her lips parted, as if she wanted to call my name, but Harrison gently touched her elbow and guided her to her seat. Your Honor, Cole began, standing up as the judge entered. We are requesting an expedited order for a non-invasive prenatal paternity test, an IPP under Family Code Section 7551. The plaintiff, Mr. Mason, has reason to believe that the child currently carried by the defendant may not be his biological offspring. Harrison stood up immediately. Your Honor, this is a baseless accusation, designed to humiliate my client during a delicate stage of her pregnancy. The parties have been married for 3 years, and there is no evidence of infidelity. No evidence. Cole interrupted, sliding a folder to the bailiff. We have submitted bank records showing the defendant funded multiple private trips with her male companion, Mr. Parker Vance, including a weekend in Aspen where they shared a single room. We also have social media posts from Mr. Vance, dated the night of the plaintiff's departure from the Marshall home, confirming a long-standing, ongoing physical relationship. Lara's lawyer tried to speak, but the judge raised a hand. Mrs. Blanchett, the judge said, looking down at Lara over his spectacles. Do you object to the paternity test? Lara stood up. Her voice was shaking slightly, but she tried to maintain her usual commanding tone. Your Honor, Mason is my husband. I love him. The baby is. I have no reason to hide anything, but this is an insult to my character. If you have nothing to hide, then a simple blood draw should not be an issue. The judge said calmly. The court grants the motion. The test will be conducted at the county medical center tomorrow morning. The results will be delivered directly to this court within 5 business days. The gavel fell with a sharp, final crack. As the courtroom emptied, Lara walked toward me. Her lawyer tried to stop her, but she brushed him off. Mason, she said, her voice dropping into that pleading, soft tone she had used when we first met. Please, why are you doing this? We can go to counseling. I'll fire Parker. I'll never see him again. Just come home. Don't let your parents ruin what we have. I stood up, adjusting my jacket. I looked at her, and for the first time I didn't feel the familiar, desperate urge to make her smile. I didn't feel the need to apologize for being too sensitive. We don't have anything, Lara, I said quietly. We never did. You had a husband who loved you, and you treated him like a piece of furniture you could ignore until you needed to sit down. That's not true, she whispered, a tear finally escaping her eye. I married you. I chose you over everyone else. You chose me because my family name gave you the social standing your father demanded, I said. And because you knew I would never question you while you kept Parker in your bed. I turned to walk away, but she grabbed my sleeve. Mason, please, the baby, what if it's yours? Are you really going to abandon your own child? If the baby is mine, Lara, I will raise them, I said, looking down at her hand on my sleeve until she slowly let go. But they will never spend a single day in a house where their mother's best friend has his own set of keys. The 5 days of waiting for the DNA results were the quietest of my life. I spent my time walking in the gardens of my parents' estate, helping my father with his stamp collection, and eating dinners that didn't involve onions or mangoes. I felt like a man recovering from a long, wasting illness. My appetite returned. The pale, exhausted look in my eyes vanished. But on the 5th day, the storm broke. The phone in my father's library rang at 4 p.m. Richard Cole's voice came through the speaker, crisp and cold. We have the results, he said. I sat down, my hands gripping the edge of the mahogany desk. My mother stood behind me, her hands resting firmly on my shoulders. The probability of paternity for Mason is 0%, Cole said. A long, quiet sigh escaped my lips. It wasn't a sigh of grief. It was the sound of a prisoner watching the iron gates of his cell swing open. The biological father is confirmed to be Parker Vance, Cole continued. The laboratory ran the secondary comparison against the sample we secured from Mr. Vance's medical records at his private clinic. Thank you, Richard, my father said, his voice hard as iron. Initiate the secondary filings immediately. I want the Blanchett family notified of the fraud suit by tonight. Already done, sir, Cole replied. And we've also leaked the court filings to the financial press. By tomorrow morning, every investor in Blanchett Real Estate will know that the vice president has been using trust funds from her husband's family to support her lover. The next morning, the financial district of the city was in a frenzy. The headlines were brutal. Blanchett Real Estate Scandal. VP Lara Blanchett sued for fraud, infidelity by Vance Trust. The parasite of Park Avenue. How Parker Vance lived luxuriously on another man's inheritance. By noon, the Blanchett family's stock had dropped by 15%. The board of directors held an emergency meeting, and by 2 p.m., Lara was stripped of her title as vice president and placed on indefinite, unpaid leave. But the real show was at the original crew group chat. I opened my phone for the first time in a week. The chat was filled with hundreds of messages. The friends who had laughed at Parker's jokes, the ones who had told me not to take it to heart, were now silent. Some of them had left the group entirely. Others were desperately trying to apologize. Dave at Mason, man, I'm so sorry. We didn't know. We thought Parker was just talking nonsense like he always does. If we had known. Sarah at Mason, please don't hate us. We were just trying to keep the peace. Lara always told us you were fine with their friendship. I didn't reply to any of them. I scrolled up to the top of the chat, where Parker's old post of the scattered lingerie still sat. I typed a single message. At Parker Vance. The child is yours. The fraud suit is on its way to your studio. I hope you saved some of the money Lara gave you, because my family's lawyers are going to take everything else." Then I left the group. Chapter 5. The Quiet Horizon. 1 month later. The divorce was finalized on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. Because of the clear evidence of financial fraud and the paternity results, Lara's lawyers had advised her to sign the agreement without a fight. She had surrendered any claim to our joint assets, returned the wedding ring, and agreed to pay back the $50,000 she had taken from my trust fund. I stood on the steps of the courthouse, the winter air cool and sharp against my face. A car pulled up to the curb. It wasn't the older SUV I used to drive. It was a classic, dark green sedan my father had given me for my 26th birthday. Before I could get in, a voice called out from behind the stone pillars. "Mason." I turned. Lara was standing there. She looked completely broken. The expensive designer coat she wore was rumpled, her hair dull, her eyes swollen and red. Her pregnancy was starting to show beneath her clothes, but there was no joy in her posture. She looked like a woman who had realized, too late, that the castle she had built on a foundation of lies had collapsed into dust. "Mason," she whispered, taking a trembling step toward me. "Please. I have nothing left. My father has kicked me out of the company. The board wants to sue me for damage to the brand. And Parker has vanished. The moment he found out about the lawsuit, he emptied his studio's accounts and fled to another state." I looked at her, and to my surprise, I didn't feel any anger. I didn't feel the urge to mock her, or to tell her she got what she deserved. I only felt a deep, profound indifference. "You should find a good lawyer for the custody agreement with Parker, Lara," I said, my voice quiet and calm. "You're going to need his support." "I don't want his support," she cried, the tears spilling down her cheeks. "I wanted you. I wanted the life we had. I wanted the quiet dinners, the walks in the park, the way you used to hold my hand when I was tired. I didn't realize how much I relied on your warmth until the house went cold. Mason." "You didn't rely on my warmth, Lara," I said, opening the door of my car. "You relied on my silence. But the silence is over." I got into the car, closing the door behind me. The engine purred to life, smooth and quiet. As the car pulled away from the curb, I looked in the rearview mirror. Lara was standing on the steps of the courthouse, a small, lonely figure in the cold winter air, clutching her stomach as the snow began to fall. But I wasn't looking back. I looked forward at the wide, open road stretching out before me under the pale winter sun. I was 26, my hands were warm, and for the first time in my life the road belonged entirely to me.